In this video, I'm going to run you through the list of steps to make sure you absolutely dominate 2025 and ultimately to make sure there's no other option but to succeed. So this week I got a message from a client and that question reads like this. Basically, I guess I'm asking, is there anything I can adopt from people that have done super fucking well that I can start doing right now in 2025 so that there's no other option but to just succeed? And after taking some time to think about it, I made a list of, I don't know, there must be 10 to 15 different points here. And I'm just going to run you through them one at a time. And you can implement them into your business right away. So the very first one, in no specific order, is they take complete and total ownership of their outcomes. They don't blame anything or anyone else. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff that happens in your business, that's for sure. But there's also going to be your fair share of trials and tribulations and just straight up bullshit. It's super easy when that stuff happens to immediately blame someone or something else. It was the client was just an asshole, or the dog was unwell, or the postman stubbed his toe. There's always someone else to blame. But if you get into the habit of taking complete ownership of your own outcomes, good or bad, you'll find that it's much easier to move through them and you can just move forwards much quicker. Rather than being a victim to everyone else's outcomes, you just become the captain of your own ship. So that's number one. Number two is that they make more offers than anyone else. Daily Story asks, for example, but they do so for months. So I think when it comes to making more money, which I think we can agree is probably the main outcome we're looking for, if you want to make more money, it stands to reason you need to have more sales discussions. If you want to make more sales discussions, you need to have more conversations. But in this specific example, we're talking about actually having asks. So the easiest and lowest friction way you can do that, and what I suggested to this client, was to go on his story, put some social proof up, a couple of slides, and then after that, put up a sticker engagement, a question box, a slider, a poll, a link to your Linktree, a link to your Typeform, or a link to your Calendly, for example. But do that 3 to 5 times a week, every week, for a period of months. Now, the real pitfall here is that coaches tend to do it once, no one clicks the sticker. And when no one clicks the sticker, you blame everyone else, refer to point one. Rather than continuing to proceed with something that we know works and just trying again, people just give up and declare that it doesn't work. So what we want to do is keep doing that 3 to 5 times a week, every week, 4 months, because sooner or later, someone's going to click it. Someone's going to take action, and you can play around with the stuff that comes before that, the different styles of social proof, different evocative content before that, so you can get people more likely to click. Point number 3 is they're in good shape themselves and they showcase it. I'm going to lean in on this hard on 2025 in content. I think coaches should be in shape. Now, I'm going to add the asterisk in shape for their market. So if you coach severely overweight people to lose most of the weight such that they're a healthy BMI and that is the product that you sell, then you only need to be a healthy BMI to be in shape for your market. What we need to remember is all coaching is transformative. A lot of coaches come at us and say, well, I'm not a transformation coach. All coaching is transformative. Even if you are someone that coaches alcoholics to not be an alcoholic, the transformation is from alky to non-alky. It's that straightforward. So what we want to do is, if you are in shape, which you should be, if you're not, first let's focus on that. That should be a Q1 target for 2025. Once you are, is getting used to sharing that and being okay with sharing that without ego. My business legitimately launched on the back of me doing multiple photo shoots and being in good shape myself, because people didn't believe what the fuck I had to say until I showed them I could do what I said I could do. I find it very hard to believe that you would take advice from a financial advisor who was broke, or a dentist with junky's teeth. So if you're not going to take advice from those two people, why on earth would a fitness prospect take advice from an overweight and out of shape PT with a rig like a sock full of custard? So we need to be very careful with that. The next one is their coaching has a clear value proposition, so people can clearly understand what the transformation is. I think this is where coaches that, and I'm not against it, but coaches that aren't body transformation coaches, that's absolutely fine. I was a body transformation coach. Doesn't mean to say that I think everyone should be. The coaches that are body transformation coaches, it's very, very easy to say, I take people from this to this, from overweight or out of shape to shredded or whatever the hell that thing is. Great. But when you have a slightly more abstract transformation, if you're unable to clearly articulate what it is that you do, what is point A and what is point B and what happens in the middle, until you can clearly articulate that with something that is like tangible. So to say that you give someone a bulletproof mindset, I mean, take a bullet to their head and let me know if their mindset is bulletproof. Very much doubt it. We've got to be careful with these kind of very vague terms. You need to clearly define the start and the end, and more importantly, what happens in the middle, so that you can clearly tell me what transformation you get people. Maybe it's, rather than a running coach, I'll help you get better at running. Maybe I'll help you run your first marathon. That is tangible. I can point at the medal that says you ran the London Marathon in this year and you succeeded. Simple as that. And I think the clearer you can be on your transformation, your value proposition, the more likely someone is to take action as a buyer. Because it's hard to want to buy something that I don't understand. Food for thought. The next one is, they are masters of orchestrating sales conversations. They are in total control of every call. I think, quick nugget on this, when you're in a sales discussion, there are only two positions that can be played. There's someone that's in control and there's someone that's not being controlled but is following. There's a leader and a follower. There's someone playing the tune and there's someone dancing to the tune. The person playing the tune is the person asking the questions. The minute you start answering questions, you are now the back seat. You're not driving that conversation forward. So the coaches that do really, really well with us are the coaches that master the ability of asking questions rather than answering questions. And when they're asked a question, bringing that background such that they ask another one. And I know your parents probably taught you should never answer a question with another question, but fuck those guys. Let's talk about it for a minute. So if someone asks on a sales call, let's think of an example. How long would it take for me to X, to lose 10 kilograms? You and I both know, coach, that question is very hard to answer. The minute you start answering, the minute you start taking the back seat, the minute you lose control. Instead, I would ask that prospect, what seems like a reasonable time for you to lose 10 kilograms? Now you've flipped it, you're back in control, you're the one asking, and as a result, now they're going to tell you what their expectation is, rather than you being like, oh, well, we could do it in 8 weeks, and they say, oh, I wanted to do it in 6. Oh, well, we could do it in 6. All of a sudden now you're scrambling and you're not in control. So those guys that are in control of their sales calls are the ones that clear up. As simple as that. The next point, I have no idea what number we're on. I'm sure this will be done in the edit. They prioritize value-led content over every other kind of content, and they do so 7 days a week, in my opinion. So I think it's very easy for coaches to fall into kind of like influencer style content. I see it a lot across the industry, whereby the content that starts getting put out is just like a video montage of you training. It doesn't really help anyone. There's no value. Now, whilst it might help as part of a wider content strategy, if every day it's just a montage of you training, good for you, bro. Understand that in order for someone to buy, you need to have given first. Before you ask, you need to give. And you want your give-ask ratio to be as high as possible. Like, you want to just give so much free content, the best content that you have, that it seems unreasonable that someone wouldn't choose to buy from you. So the easiest way that I can propose that you do this is, if you take your coaching model, you can write these 3 down. You've probably got an exercise component, I would hope. There's probably a nutrition component, I would also hope. And there's probably some sort of lifestyle component. Maybe that's mindset for you. Maybe it's just broad lifestyle. I don't know. And frankly, it doesn't matter right now. If we write down those 3 categories, you've now got 3 buckets that you can put your content into. Think of where you take me from exercise. What is my start point with exercise, and what's the end point when I finish working with you? Same with nutrition. What's the start point when I come to you as a prospect, and what's my finished product outcome? And then with lifestyle, again, start and end. Now you can start to identify the steps that you would do to get me from A to B, and A to B respectively. And therefore you should have shitloads of content ideas that come from that. If you sprinkle in 2 to 3 pieces of social proof per week, you have a rock solid content strategy that does not revolve around just semi-naked pictures of you and videos of you in the gym with some fucking trending audio that isn't going to do anything for anyone. Like, I take no value from that. I didn't come on Instagram to watch you 1 rep max your deadlift, as much as I might find it interesting if you're Chaz the videographer. Everyone else not interested. So yeah, I think that's super, super important. One of the ways you can, it's potentially very easy, is you can take content you could do like we're doing now, long form content on YouTube, and then you can chop short form out of that long form. So I think it's a lot easier. The problem with reels and the problem with like quick snackable content for socials is it's very easy to make, well, it's very hard to make rather, short form content that people actually listen to. You're trying to cram a lot of knowledge into one tiny little snippet. Whereas if you just put a camera on like this, hit record and start talking around something that you've planned and thought about, you'll find that you get into flow and you can chop little bits out of it. We just pick one of the categories that we've spoken about, record for 10 minutes, pull your reels out of that. You'll find it much easier than trying to cram everything into 60 seconds. The next point is they plan out their main offers over the year, knowing which months they will be running certain campaigns. I think January is the best month of the year to do this, but you know what they say, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the second best time is today. If it's not January, the best time is now. Don't wait till January. So planning out your offers across the year is super, super important. What we do in January is we pull down the whiteboard from the office wall, stick it on the table here, and look across Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 and plan out the main offers that we have for the year. Anything that happens annually is great, and then we populate specific ones for the year. What that allows you to do is decide which day the campaign is going to end. That's just like the end date where your offer closes. Therefore, when does it open? Great, we now have an open window. And then after that, we want to work backwards and say, if it opens on the 25th of January and it closes at the end of January, you've got 4 or 5 days for it to run. You probably want to run a couple of weeks of content leading into that is angling people and driving people towards signing up, or at least alarming them that something is coming. You can ramp up your social proof. You can start talking about the offer that's coming. But what coaches tend to do on the other side, so when they're not doing particularly well with this, is they realize they need clients. They've had a few people drop off, like, fuck, I should do an offer. So they do an offer. And when I say do an offer, they make some bullshit Canva thing. They throw it on Instagram saying, I'm looking for 5 men who are X, Y, Z. There's no campaign, there's no structure to it. And then they're like, oh, well, no one signed up. Sure, offers, as in life, is a you get out what you put in kind of game. The more you structure emails, social media, a thought through run-up campaign and a thought through launch campaign and a thought through actual campaign is going to help you dramatically increase the number of people that come in every single time you make an offer. Next up, they don't expect every month to be a new record month. Probably should have been the first one if I'm honest. Yeah. Great coaches understand and are okay with the inherent volatility of running a business. When you run a business, you need to get comfortable, or at least okay with, volatility, high months and low months. And I think the best thing I can tell you here is, if you don't want the lows to feel too low, don't allow the highs to feel too high. So when you have a great month, when you absolutely clean up, don't get so fucking ecstatic and rush out and buy yourself a new car and a Rolex and tell everyone under the sun. I'm not saying don't celebrate, I'm just saying be very careful. What goes up must come down. If you take yourself super sky high, you're so excited, you've had the best month ever, I want you to feel great, but I just need you to be very careful that you don't let yourself feel too great. Every month's not going to be a record month. And actually, this is where I think, I've got to be careful about how I say this, but I think a lot of mentorship businesses over the years, not all, but a large chunk of them have got into the habit of, if I take you from 2 grand a month to 10 grand a month very quickly, you have a 10 grand month, but that 10 grand month came from lots of upfront sales. So your monthly recurring is only 2.5 now, but you made 10 grand in this month. Saying, oh, I took so-and-so to 10 grand a month. Well, you took him to 10 grand a month, 1 month, but after that, they were probably 2.5. And I think you just want to be very careful. And this is where these pitfalls come, where you see marketing and you can fall prey to it. What you want is consistent, slow growth with peaks, and there will be troughs, whether you like it or not. As long as that graph is trending upwards, I think you're in a good place. So just be very careful. You don't allow the highs to get too high. You don't allow the lows to get too low. And ultimately that you go into each month with high hopes, but managed expectations, I think is exactly how I would word it. Now, tying that back to if you plan out your offer calendar, you can then start to orchestrate what I would call like a pathway to profit. You can start to orchestrate like, we're going to have an offer here because we know this worked last year. Like we have a couple of offers that play out every single year that work very, very well because they've been tried and tested for a few years now. So I can say with relative certainty, I could tell you right now which months will be our higher months this year. And I'm okay with that. I can probably also tell you which our lower months will be, and I'm okay with that. Moving into the next one, sometimes the goal is to build up their monthly recurring, and other times it's to collect cash. So this kind of ties in nicely. There will be times in your career where selling monthly recurring, so if you've got a program that is 3 months, for those 3 months you charge £199. That person's going to pay 199, 199, 199. So give or take, they're paying 600 quid. If they pay upfront, the upfront would be say 550. So there's a £50 discount if they pay upfront. in certain times, and I think especially when you're starting out, until you cover what I would call your life numbers, so mortgage or rent, car payments, any costs associated with living, the kids, the bills. Until that is covered by monthly recurring payments, in my opinion, you have no place selling upfronts, because upfronts aren't going to help. Primarily because people are shit at managing money. Especially coaches. You get a couple of upfronts, great, you've now got a brand new iPhone and a whole new tattoo sleeve. Fantastic, but guess what? Your mortgage is still due on the 25th and you've got no money left in the bank. This is because people haven't been taught to be responsible with cash. I think you want to have monthly recurring stacking until you get above your life numbers by about 20%. So you've got 20% float above mortgage, rent, car, kids, gym membership, all the rest. At that point, of course, you can move into dedicated months where you do position upfront as an even better bargain and you position that in a way that drives people towards buying that. That would be a good thing. I think you just want to go into each month aware of what the goal of the month is. Is it MRR or is it cash collected upfront? And just be aware of the pitfalls of lots of upfronts. Just as a kind of side point on that as well, one thing I want you to be aware of is we track cash collected, not cash projected. So if I sign up with you on a 199 per month and it's a 6-month minimum, there'd be £1,200 give or take that I'm kind of contracted for. Problem with contracted cash is a huge percentage, you'd be shocked. It's like 70% plus isn't actually ever collected. Be very careful that you're not counting projected cash. I know a lot of people that do that where they sign up that client, they pay 199 today and they're like, yes, just made 1,200 quid. Well, you didn't though, did you? You made 199. And until you make the next 199, you've only made 199. And I think that's a much healthier way to manage and project your money. They actually get very good or world-class client results and showcase it multiple times a week, every single week. Should go without saying that if you want me to sign up with you, you've got to give me a bloody good reason to do so. The best reason you'll ever have is the quality of the work that you do, the quality of the transformations that you get with the people that you work with. So that should be the absolute front and foremost of your brain at all times. And the thing I want you to remember here is revenue follows results, not the other way around. So you will make more money by showcasing an infinite number of social proofs, of transformations, whatever the transformation is inside of your business. If I land on your page and it's just like wham, 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 transformation, 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 and it's an undeniable number of transformations, seems unreasonable to suggest if I was looking for a similar transformation that you're not the guy or girl that I would sign up with. If it's a bit sparse and it's not the quality of it's not really there, that's where your focus should be going. Never mind business mentorship and the mentorship of just purely numbers. Let's probably go after getting better at your craft and mastering your craft, which if you want to get better at that, just so happens I know a guy, give me a shout. Because we teach that also inside the Optimized Coaching. That's very, very important. So let's make sure that we're focusing on results first and foremost. Final point on social proof is one of the most common complaints or concerns that I hear on social proof is I've only got 4 or 5, whatever number it is for you, good transformations, and I'm worried that if I reshare them, it'll look like I don't have that many transformations. Well, for starters, you don't have that many transformations. That's exactly what it looks like, and that's okay. But second of all is, like the Mona Lisa is still hanging in an art gallery. I don't know which art gallery it's in, an art gallery somewhere. And people still go and see it, and they've been to see it. I'm sure there are people that have been to see it multiple times. And Van Gogh didn't paint that self-portrait and then think, oh, a bit awkward. I've shown a few people this. I best pop that one in the cupboard. A bit embarrassed by that one now. They don't. They keep sharing it. Now, let's be honest. Van Gogh cut his ear off and then topped his self. I don't know if he's an ideal role model, but I mean, I think we can learn some stuff from the guy. So don't be afraid to remix and reuse the social proof that you have. It's your work. They're your results, and you should be incredibly proud of it. Rather than trying to pretend that you have more social proof than you do, just be okay with sharing a reel, a before and after, a graph of their results, a message from that client. I would say that you can take each piece of social proof that you have and turn it into 4 or 5 very easily. Next on our hit list, they can separate their business and their personal life. So when the shit hits the fan in their personal life, they don't just fuck off their business by disappearing off of Instagram and being a ghost in the Optimized Coach or wherever they are. They lean in, they ask for support, and nothing changes at work. In short, they fuck their feelings and do it anyway. Well, listen, there's going to be some big life stuff that happens, and there's probably some big caveats to this one. Hopefully they're fairly obvious, and I don't need to go there. But For most of the stuff that comes up in coaches' lives, like, you know, things happen, you get unwell, the kids, you know, if you've got kids, one kid gets unwell, the next kid gets unwell, your missus gets it, and then you get it, and it's just fucking bedlam in your house, there's shite everywhere. I get it. Or a member of your family gets unwell, or God forbid they die, or the dog gets unwell, or the dog dies, or any of this stuff. This is life, it's what's going to happen. The unfortunate truth of you having started a business is the business requires you to be able to weather that stuff. I'm not suggesting you just ignore it and don't deal with it. Get the help that you need to deal with it, of course. But there's just like, I didn't have the headspace to deal with it. Now, if there's really serious stuff, that's the caveat. Go and deal with it and do what you need to do. But in every other circumstance, you need to keep showing up. Now, social proof for me. I went through a divorce which was brutal for both of us. Really, really expensive for both of us. Emotionally, financially, every which way. Just brutal. I was maxed out 3 credit cards, and truth be told, suicidal. It's a story for another day. It's a fun story. Join me for that one. But through it all, I continued to post regularly on social media and email. I continued to go live every day. I continued to do my sessions in the gym. I didn't just disappear. I didn't want to do it, but I realized the continued growth of my business required me to continue to show up. If anything, I found it a pretty good distraction. Doing that was the one time of the day that I didn't feel like I wanted to throw myself off a bridge. That helped. So I think just being very careful that you don't disappear for a week. Christmas is another one. It doesn't have to be disastrous. It could just be Christmas. I've been pretty bad with my social media, guys. I haven't been on here much. Here's an offer. Why on earth would I buy from you now? Like, I think one of the core traits we're looking for in a fitness professional as a prospect is consistency. If I can't see that you're being consistent with your content, your training, your nutrition, and all the different things, why would I follow you into battle? I'm not going to. I need to see someone that's ruthlessly consistent across the board, because ultimately I think in any domain of fitness, that is what the prospect is looking for. They're looking to be taught to be consistent. That's the reason they're not making progress right now. So if they're looking to be taught to be made consistent, they need to see that someone that's consistent in lieu of everything else that's happening. So just be careful with that one. Final point. They all exude a sense of confidence that you can't quite put your finger on. Doesn't have to be in all areas of life, but when it comes to speaking about the results they get and the clients that they have, they know that they are the guy or the girl, which immediately gives them authority and sets them apart of any of their competitors. Clients will come to you for a few things. 2 of the most important ones they will come for is confidence and clarity. It's hard to have confidence and clarity in someone that isn't confident and clear. That should hopefully go without saying. So I need to see that you are confident in the results that you get. And I've got one client in particular, Chris, who comes to mind here. Incredibly confident guy, gets world-class results, and isn't afraid to stand on the rooftops and shout about it and explain exactly why he's confident, because he has every right to be. But when you exude that type of confidence, and then you layer on top of that confidence the clarity like Chris has of how he gets someone from A to B and the exact steps and phases that they go through in the process, it's very hard not to be at least interested in what that person has to say. Prospects aren't looking for someone that's shy, retiring, bashful, unclear, a bit waffly. They're looking for someone that's like, this is the path, this is how we do it, and this is why I'm the best. I think there's nothing wrong with admitting that. I think your goal should be that you want to be the best in any area that you work in. And with that, I'll just tie up with, you can't be the best and the cheapest at the same time. So if you're giving it confidence and giving it big licks on your content, and then I get to the sales call with you and it's fucking bargain basement prices, the audio and the visual don't match. Got to be really fucking careful with that. So hopefully they've been useful. I would rewatch this 2 times speed, and I would just mash through it with a pen and paper, write them down. Here's my final point to you. I would split the page into 2. This is how I used to go away from seminars, and it's done me incredibly well, this. I used to do it on planes on the way back from seminars. A list on the left of learnings. Any of the ones that you felt were useful for you, write them down on the left-hand side. On the right, you're going to write the action that you're going to take from that, because learnings are kind of fun, but they're useless without actions. What are you now going to do? What are you going to change as a result of the learning in the left-hand column? And then on the right-hand side, if you've got a little bit of space, I just want you to date it, the date that it will be done by. So now you have a learning, an action point, and a due date. All you need to do is just follow the fucking plan. See you in the next one.